Shalom, this is Amonute Tayac of Piscataway, your friendly neighborhood Shuman Sophia Spiritualite, the AmaruKhan Miriyam, and this is just a little chit chat. I want to make a video on these topics, but this is like a place marker in case I don't get back to it or something else comes up that's sort of important. But so I did want to get it into the ley line. I don't want to hold on to it. I just don't know how important this stuff is. The first thing is I'm working on a video for who the Hamites are and what the territory that Ham inherited. And I've run into a problem because I can't actually tell the territory that Ham inherited or who the Hamites are. And in relation to that curse of Canaan, is it the curse of Canaan, the person, or is it the curse of Cain? Because if we go back into a little back further in Genesis, Cain's curse was that he would be he was cursed with being a servant. That was the curse of Cain. And so I'm starting to think that saying that Ham is the father of Canaan, the way that they do in that chapter is to throw people off and have you assume that the curse of Cain then is something other than the curse of Cain. So what I'm saying is, it seems like Abraham gave Ham the curse of Cain. Even though, yes, Canaan was one of Ham's sons, and that is the one who ultimately, from the book of Jasher, took the clothing that Noah had from Adam. We understand that part of it, but the part that's missing is, okay, well, if he gave, and we also know that the curse of Cain came with a mark so that these people could not be quote unquote killed, and so that Cain would not be killed. And so this is just a huge, problem for me, because I can't tell what is meant. Meaning, I know that all of Africa is not Hamites, because you have places like Morocco and Egypt and stuff like that. They have a different phenotype. And it's also not the same as Ethiopia, because the Ethiopians and the East Africans, some of them also have a different phenotype. But in the South Africans, with the Ugandans and the other, some of the other Central Africans, they got a different phenotype. And so it just makes this whole thing very, very confusing. And also, if Ham has other children, was it just Canaan that was cursed, or was it all of Ham's children? That's the part that's really causing me, problems with, not only with just understanding, but in general with trying to apply what is being said in the Bible to what is meant. And we have looked at this in the regular Bible. I'm going to double check the Orthodox Bible, but we went into the Sefer, we went into the Hebrew, and it all says the same thing, which is not comforting to me, because it's clear that there's an issue. And you mean to tell me nobody ever thought, like, what does this mean before? Like, he was cursing. First of all, because let's go back. Ham had an inheritance, just like Japheth and just like Shem. And so if Ham had an inheritance like Japheth and Shem, which is fine, makes sense. The problem is, then, if that curse only applies to Canaan, where are those people? And don't tell me that it's in a place called Canaan, because that's not how it works. See, this is how they confused the 12 tribes or the 10 tribes that weren't Judah, weren't considered part of Judah, and weren't considered the Levites, because the 10 tribes, they renamed themselves after the capital city where they live, which was Samaria. That's why they're the Samaritans. So this just leads, you can't follow down this trail of thought without having some clarification. And so that's where the holdup is. I might do Shem next just because I know I can pull together Shem's information. But this whole Ham issue is really a problem. And it's a bigger problem because then again, you don't know who you're dealing with, meaning I don't want to assign people, I don't want to attribute a pantheon to a group of people that pantheon doesn't belong to, because it's going to create more issues down the road. I need it to be clear what's going on. And that's where the problem comes into play. And so I may have to do Shem first, just because that's just the way that it plays out, that Shem gets done first, and Ham is last. Although we do know that Ham is the youngest, so that wouldn't, be so bad. And Japheth is the oldest, and Shem is in the middle. All right, that's one issue. The second thing is this whole issue of Tituba. Now, I shared a video about Tituba, and again, some problems jumped out immediately with her story. Now, I have read the Crucible. If you don't know who I'm talking about, from today, from the 1st of the month, the 1st of March, all the way through till the 9th, or really like the 11th, this is the heart of the Salem witch trials. Okay, this is when the Salem witch trials really was really happening. And so there's a woman, her name is Tituba. She was a American Indian, quote unquote, which I don't like the term Indian, American native, who they took probably from this Timuca area, North Florida or something like that, over to the islands, I think it was Aruba or something, and then brought her back up to Massachusetts as a quote-unquote slave. And so this woman, through her testimony alone, in English, now mind you, when did this woman learn English? Like, these are the type of questions that really bother me, and nobody can ever answer these questions. For the people who were quote-unquote slaves to be so stupid, when did they learn English? Like, how did they know English? Anyway, that's neither here, especially enough to testify against, not only did this woman know English, let me just freeze frame real quick before I get into this story. Of course, go watch the video. The sister did a really good job explaining what was going on. Not only did this particular individual know English enough to testify, which they weren't allowing Negroes to testify in court. That was kind of insane. She actually stated that she signed the devil's book, and she also read the devil's book. So wait a minute, you mean to tell me this person who was a slave was able to testify in court, was able to read, and was able to write enough so that they took her testimony? I'm just making sure we got this correct, right? This is what happened. Something is not making sense to me. Anyway, so this woman, she, first of all, what I actually believe happened, and I'm going to put this in my new moon video because she is definitely over this new moon that we have coming up in Pisces. But I believe that, so 3 or 4 girls in Salem, they started exhibiting behavior of being quote unquote possessed, right? And so they had done an egg cleanse, and then they saw a coffin. So let me just pause on this whole egg cleanse thing. You do an egg cleanse to cut ties, to see if black magic is being done on you. So they had done an egg cleanse, and they saw a coffin. And once they saw the coffin and the egg cleanse, then they started behaving erratically. So I believe those girls had been abused, and they were doing that egg cleanse to try to break this tie with their abusers. So then you have this enslaved woman, Tituba, right? She confesses to being a witch, which is insanity. And then she spends like 2 or 3 days on the stand giving these people some of the most fantastical stories they've ever heard about how the witches were doing what they were doing. And of course she accuses all these white women of being witches. Now, do I believe those women were doing witchcraft? Absolutely. 100%. I wasn't sure at first. I'm 100% sure they were doing some kind of evil witchcraft, and they had taken these girls and given them to their partners or whoever for abuse. Because I believe that these girls was being abused, and this woman Tituba was trying to protect them. And by getting rid of these women and their husbands, and they never say that the women had husbands, but obviously the women had husbands. So they got rid of the women, the husbands were gone, the abusers were gone. That's what I believe. That's what I heard when I was listening to the story, reading articles about this story, and I'll go on a little bit more about that. So she tells these people, oh, the devil had a book, and I signed his book, and I saw these other women's names in the book. Then she tells, she's on the stand, and she tells them, oh, it was a red, this kind of animal, a yellow bird, an orange dog, this kind of stuff. And she also describes like a man that she saw, but she never accuses any of the men of being abusers or whatever, witch warlocks. She only deals with the women. So if they were doing some kind of, now this is a jump. I mean, it's not a jump because this is what I heard. So it's not a jump. It's a jump for people who believe everything that's written the way that it's written. And so this story, let me just, before I even go that, this story was in the Crucible, which I have read several times because I couldn't figure out, it was something that wasn't right about it. I had no idea what it was, and now I'm understanding because the story is not told right. Why would all these, quote unquote Puritans believe this black woman? That she professing to be a witch and accusing all these other women of being witches. So at the end of this trial, she's sentenced to like 13 to 15 months in jail. That is on March the 9th. I pulled the calendar for that. It was also the new moon. So this puts her directly into the energy of this new moon. So it's my belief that when they shut everything down in 2020, they used this Salem witch trial energy to scare everybody. Because if you go and read, these people were really definitely afraid of this kind of black magic, which, I understand because there's no explaining it. There's no watching it. And what happened in 2020? All of a sudden, everybody was just overcome by fear. Well, where did this fear come from? It wasn't even founded in any reality. And that's exactly what you have with these Salem witch trials. It wasn't founded in any reality except for the fact that there were children being abused, and no one would believe it if she said, hey, these people are over here abusing these children. So instead, she's given another way out of it. And it's also a sign that the Most High, in the way that he operates outside of space and time, is going to make things be as fantastical as possible. And it may require you to be in some kind of servitude, looks like servitude. But listen, this woman, Tituba, she was sentenced to jail for 13 months. Her master never came to get her. Now, why would that happen? Probably because the master was abusing her too. And so now that she had brought attention to the family, and if there were more witches, of course they'd come back to Tituba and ask her, hey, are there more witches somewhere? He was like, nah, I better leave that alone. So she was stuck in jail for 13 months. Was being stuck in jail for 13 months better than being a slave for 13 months? Some people would say yes. Some people would say no. I don't know. It depends on, what she was able to get away with while she was in that position. But we do know that she was in that position. So she was in jail for 13 months. And at the end of the 13 months, someone bailed her out and she was never seen again. And so she got to live her life in, in freedom and away from these people. Probably went back home to where she came from. Because she was from the mainland of America. I don't know why, it's obvious she's from the mainland of America based on this story and what we knew these people did when they came into the towns. They always was trying to take advantage of little girls when they came into this country. And so why would it be any different? So you have that story happening. You have that energy invoked in 2020, and I had seen a little video where somebody was saying, ooh, it's feeling kind of pandemic-y out there, and this is why, because this is that unknown fear. Where does it come from? It doesn't come from anywhere. People are trying to accuse people, but at the same time, they're, diffusing any accusations that could be made. They're just taking them apart brick by brick. So it's quite amazing actually to see this happening in real time, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like this. So anyway, I'll talk about her story a little bit with the full moon. With the new moon video that's coming over. She is tied to the new moon. Normally I use a saint. However, this is similar to the Metacomet issue, who was with the I think that was Sagittarius new moon, or whatever the full moon was right around Thanksgiving. There was a moon right around Thanksgiving. Whatever that moon was, Metacomet was tied to that moon. And so now we have another indigenous person tied to a moon phase, which is, quite interesting to say the least. So I wanted to get that word vomit out so that way when I make the video, it'll be a little more smoother and I won't have to put all these details in here, and I'll refer back to this one. So another thing is, as of today, Tuesday the 5th, we are March 5th, Tuesday, March 5th, we are in a lull of energy. Now, we are in a lull of energy Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then Friday is when it starts to electrify back up. So this made me think of, being that we're in a lull of energy right now, the astrologers, let me start with that, they're referring to this as the calm before the storm. They're referring to this as a time where nothing is really going to be moving. And then it should be a big shock of good news for us come Friday. So I am imploring people to not expect a lot of good. Don't expect things to just all of a sudden start to go great before Friday. And I know we're inching closer and closer to our new year. I believe I have a way to observe the start of the new year, so I'm a little less worried about that than I was last week. So yeah, I'm encouraging people, take this next 3 days and relax. Don't overdo it. Don't overthink it. Don't get too caught up in, I'm stuck in this position, I'm stuck in that position. I believe that starting on Friday, we should see our new energy kick in, and that will be like a day and a half, 2 days before the new moon on Sunday. So the timing sort of lines up. And the reason why I'm saying it like that is because I've been doing a lot of self-reflecting, which I'm going to share some of that. When I went through my situation and I was immediately, like suddenly moved in a way that was, I would say it's traumatic. Overall, it was an overall traumatizing experience, but it was a shocking experience more than anything. That time was right after the New Year. It was like I observed the New Year, and then I had to go out of town, and then when I got back, it was just this big mess of whatever was going on. And I find myself about to go into the same exact pattern. And so I have been thinking that if the Most High is going to change things for me, the pattern in which things change is probably going to be similar. Meaning I would have to be kind of going through the same energy in order to for this change to happen. Now, I don't know why I feel that. I'm not sure. I don't know where that come from, but this is just my musings, you know. So if we're getting ready to observe the start of the new year, and then I have to go out of town, it's in all likelihood that by the time I get back, it'll be time for me to go into where I was supposed to be going, or at least where I would like to be when I get back. And so I feel like when I think about last year, when the switch came and things started to get out of control, it was about the week. It was like about the 10th, 11th, when things just everything started to slip away. And I don't feel that. I don't feel things slipping out of control. I feel my grip on control getting stronger. And it's not that I'm, when I say grip on control, I don't mean, I'm able to control people, I'm controlling the situation. No, I feel like I'm getting a greater understanding of how certain things play out and how certain energies play out. Because when I think back to 2020, when everything started to slip out of control, because remember, that's where they're trying to doom loop us back into that energy. So they're really, really trying to doom loop us into that energy, and they're not able to pull it off. When that time happened for me, I was observing how insane everybody was behaving, like all of a sudden, like around the 1st of March. And being that I was an Uber driver, I could see, my work has trailed off to practically nothing. What is going on here? I can't work more hours. There's no more hours that I can work. And I was observing the news cycle and saying, okay, this is starting to get out of hand. People are saying things and making decisions that don't actually make sense. And so and even though I was observing all of this, I was like, one thing I know for sure and for certain is that there's no way that a particular political personality is going to allow that to be what keeps them from getting reelected, something that doesn't have anything to do with anything else, like something that these people are freaking out about, where they was just partying with the Chinese New Year and telling people not to worry. I mean, no, that person is not going to be held responsible for what these people are doing here. I knew that because I could see the moves that were being made. So I wasn't worried about being able to take care of myself or money or anything like that, because it had already been discussed. A lot of people were not paying attention, or they were watching a regular, television about this stuff, but it had already been discussed that if, certain things had to be closed down, that all persons would be taken care of. And I knew that's what would happen based on how I'd seen a lot of other things come about. So I knew there wasn't anything to worry about as far as money was concerned, and that things would work out. When this thing happened to me last year, that's not what I felt. What I felt was, okay, this thing is not going to work out, I'm going to be living on the street and I have absolutely nowhere to turn. And if not for people on this channel and the sisters who work closely with me, keeping me focused on what exactly it had to do, it would have been exactly that way. However, it wasn't that way. I would have not been able to hold any kind of vibration to get anything useful done. That's what I mean when I say that. So in this case, here I am going into a similar situation, they're trying to project onto someone, whoever is trying to project onto me this similar situation from last year, and it's simply not working. It doesn't have any feet. It doesn't have any hands. It can't grip onto anything. And therefore, it's not going to be able to, it's not going to appear the way that they are trying to make it appear. It's very weird to see this. And it also makes me, it is forcing me to go back and look at the things that happened and really consider, well, in 2021 or 2020, I didn't have a problem. I was like, hey, everything is going to work out. God has always made a way for me, and he'll make a way this time. And in 2023, last year, I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way any of this is going to work out. The Most High has forsaken me for whatever it is that I did. And here I am in 2024 saying, nah, everything is going to work out. The Most High has never forsaken me, and he ain't going to forsake me now. And so I can observe the difference between that mindset that was projected onto me last year and what is happening right now. It doesn't match up. Even though the situation and the circumstances have not advanced that much. I'm not in a quote-unquote better position. I'm not quote-unquote more equipped to deal with, my circumstances, but I don't have the same, there's no, I don't feel gloom and doom and dread about my situation. Whereas last year, I was full of gloom and doom and dread. And so I'm saying that to say that, just to make the point that there is a particular energy that's trying to project out there, especially in these next 3 days where there is, it's basically like neutral. With a neutral energy, they say that it's supposed to be good, right? So if it's supposed to be good, it could be good energy. You have to find a way to make your next 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, good days. What I have been doing is before I go to sleep, I've been saying today is a great day. Today is the best day ever. I've been saying that every night before I go to sleep. I will continue to say that, especially through these next 3 days, because in saying that, I'm reaffirming my vibration in the universe as being on a good vibration. Today is the best day. Today is the best day ever. And should that not appear in my reality, I can remind myself, today is the best day ever. And I know that before I go to sleep, something will manifest to fulfill that particular prophecy. Now, people with air signs, you probably don't really have to do this. You just ride on the air and you ride on the positive vibration. But if you have earth signs and water signs like me, you have to direct that energy. The energy will just sit around until you direct it somewhere. So I just recommend directing it into today is the best day ever. Today is a great day. Today is the best day ever. And saying it before you go to sleep, what I have noticed is that I have been able to work out any energy being sent to me during my sleep, so that when I wake up, I'm not processing that energy. That negative energy is actually being processed in my sleep, as opposed to me waking up and having to process that energy all day. If that makes sense. I mean, all of this is there's nobody talking about it like this. I have not heard anybody discuss this, so I don't have a point of reference to say, oh, this is where this is coming from. This is just my assumption based on my experience of what I'm experiencing right now. It feels to me like if I'm able to stay focused on what it is that I want, that it is, because this time is also some powerful manifestation time too. So not only is it kind of like a lull in the energy, it's also like a really, really powerful manifestation time leading up into this weekend, which is a hugely powerful manifestation time. So it just behooves. So anyway, I went through this whole thing to show you self-reflection is really important, but your conclusion of your self-reflection should be that you did the best that you could at the time. Whatever you did, it was the right thing to do. So one of the things that I was thinking about, like, when I moved to Florida, I didn't get involved with all of this, this stuff that I'm involved with right away. And upon reflection, I was like, dag, I should have, they were trying to get me to do this and do that and all that. But when I looked a little deeper, I said, well, wait a second. If I had come down to Florida and literally just did in Florida what I was doing in Maryland, then I would not have had the opportunity to clear out the energy that came along with being in Maryland. Because the energy from Maryland is not good energy. So there's no way that I should be taking that energy into consideration. That energy needs to be removed first before. I don't want to taint my new area with that old bad energy. And so it's okay to take time to purge that stuff out of my system. In my case, it took about 2 years, almost 3 years of purging that energy. Really, it's 3 years because now I've been down here since 2021. It'll be almost exactly 3 years. I just feel like I purged all that energy out. Not like last week, not weeks and weeks ago, now. So I think, I had to consider my original perspective and say, no, I actually am doing the right thing. I actually did take the right amount of time to get all of that stuff out of my system. And now it is out of my system. Whereas before, it was not out of my system. So it was not, I did not come to the proper conclusion the first time I was thinking about this and all these different entities trying to give me their opinion of what things were like. No, this is the proper conclusion to come to that I've come to. And so, anyway, that's me. And so sometimes you have to look at your conclusions and say, hey, is that conclusion actually correct? Because I could have made this conclusion and it could be completely wrong. I need to really dig deep, and make sure I have come to the proper conclusion with this stuff that's going on with me, because it's really easy to come to the wrong conclusion. It just is. And so, that's my assessment. Like, don't allow these different situations to make you think, oh, you have to come to this conclusion, you have to come to that conclusion. The conclusion you should come to is a conclusion that reflects the truth. And for me, the truth of the matter is, I have just now purged all that old energy out. I'm just now able to go up the road and not have I miss it. I'm going to go up the road because it's, I'm going to go up the road. But I don't want to move back there. I don't want to be there with those people. I don't miss anything about it. It's just a big giant mess. I don't have a problem with acknowledging it in that way. But to me, it's just like a visit. Or even one of the reasons why I wanted to move is so that I would have enough revenue to go on vacations. And since I've been here, I have not been anywhere. Any of the stuff that I thought I was going to do, I haven't done. And I was like, dang, man, I haven't done anything. But then at the same time, I'm like, well, wait a second. This whole place is a vacation from the energy that I came from. That energy that I came from was horrible. So it's not really that I needed to go on a vacation so much as I needed to remove myself from that energy that caused me to need to go on so many vacations. Now I don't need it because I'm in a place that evokes calm to me. So no, now I feel like I'm at this equilibrium of calmness, which, so let's say I've been on vacation for the last 3 years. Now I'm ready to experience, or rather now I can experience other places with different energy that will have me feeling differently, that will actually provide a contrast from my new baseline of being sort of more chill when it comes to how I carry myself and how I walk around. Because sometimes when you, well, at least for me, I didn't realize how high strung I was and anxious. I didn't realize how much anxiety I was experiencing until I got to this place with low anxiety and brought my anxiety to match this place. Now I can go somewhere and it'll really feel like a vacation. Because when I would go on vacation in Maryland, I went on vacation a lot. You have to, because it's the energy is so horrible. But when I went on vacation, I would come back and then my anxiety would just go right back to where it came from. Now my anxiety is very low. And I hardly ever experience anxiety at all, actually. And so if I go on vacation now, it'll feel like a real vacation, from a point of low anxiety life to a low anxiety vacation, which will be more enjoyable. So it's just those kind of like ways that you can talk to yourself and talk through these situations. It is helpful to talk with someone. I know that like a lot of people don't have someone that they can talk to. That's why we're going to start these groups and stuff, so people can have people to talk to. But even if you have to talk to yourself, like I am, record it, listen to it, think about, you can do this type of reflection with yourself if you don't have an actual person. That's why I made this as a video. Normally I would have this as a conversation, but I was like, let me just make this video so that y'all can hear my reflection process. So hopefully it will help you to reflect better on your own self. And so I hope this has been helpful for that. This is, like I said, a good time to do a reflection, and just make sure your reflections come to the point of, no, you did the right thing because of X, Y, and Z. Because you want to acknowledge, okay, well, if I hadn't done this, X, Y, and Z could happen, which is true. However, obviously what you did was the right thing to do. We have to give ourselves credit. Obviously what we've been doing is the right thing to do, because if not, we would have been stopped, turned around, the devil would have set a trap and we'd have fallen directly into it. And it would not be able to turn out in our favor. So since none of those things are the case, everything that you did was the right thing to do. So when you start looking at your life from that perspective, which is something I always did, until I moved, and then, I got, I don't know if it was gang stalking or whatever. I got a big target put on my back. I always thought like that. And now returning to it, like, no, this was the best thing to do because X, Y, and Z. Now, could it have been done differently? Absolutely. There's lots of different ways that things can be done. You don't want to act like, no, the way that you did it is the only way to do it. Absolutely not. There's a lot of different ways. However, the way that you did it was the best for you. And you have to be able to say that to yourself and really feel it and really mean it. And sometimes it does mean like looking at the way things happen to other people and acknowledging those were the best ways for them. But those things would not have been beneficial to you, for what reason. So in my case, if everything had worked out, I would never be doing the spiritual stuff. It would be much less likely that I'd be doing spiritual stuff. Let's just put it that way. Not never, because never is not true. It'd be much less likely. It'd be more likely that I just kept on the way that I was going and I never stopped and really got to learn this spiritual stuff and put my energy into this spiritual stuff. However, I don't necessarily believe that's true, because I was always doing a lot of spiritual work. So it is, but it's not. But obviously the way that I did it was the best way for me to purge out that energy those spirits that I was carrying on me from Maryland. Like, I don't believe that I could have purged that energy out and gotten on the spiritual path had these things not happened, and also have the experience to consult with anyone and tell them, look, this is what happened to me, and so blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have the confidence to be able to speak with this kind of experience if I hadn't lost everything. I just keep looking out, not keep. I think about what I was making in 2019, and I look at that like, that's a lot of money that I was making. How do you go from that to zero? And then the same, as fast as it was gone, it's going to have to be returned to me, because it never should have been taken from me. So that's kind of like the conclusion you have to come to. Like, whatever that period for you is, for a lot of people, it will be 2019, when things were going so good for you and this and that. That was not supposed to be abruptly snatched away from you. That was supposed to continue. And because the powers that be or whoever decided they were going to snatch your blessing, your freedom from you, just, like they took it from Tituba, it ultimately was returned to her. Even, like, listen, she was taken from America. She was taken over to the islands. She was brought up to Boston, and she had to do another year to get that energy purged from her system, and then she was a free woman. No one ever heard from her again. She certainly didn't go back into slavery. Where did she go? She moved on with her life. And guess what? The effects of her freedom, as far as these Salem witch trials, is still being manipulated to this day, used to this day. This is the reason why they're so afraid of black women, because a black woman will say, yeah, I was doing that, but I saw this person doing it, I saw that person doing it, and it was this and it was that. And especially since the way that she talked, it was also referencing this Sumerian information. It scared the bejesus out of these people. The bejesus. And they didn't even think, man, we got to burn her. Nah, they said, well, that's our witness. We can't burn her. We got to burn everybody else. Look at that. How is that even possible? Just think about how insane that sounds. Like, you admitted to being a witch. So you admitted to, your role in a given situation. And you still end up with your freedom mysteriously purchased by somebody. What? How does that even happen? So this is the kind of, and then she was just gone. And that's kind of like the energy I feel from my own situation. Like, people was looking for me to be the downfall, and then I admitted, yeah, I'm out here doing this spiritual stuff, and it's this and it's that, and this is my experience or whatever. And then that admitting my involvement in this spiritual stuff is what is ultimately going to bring me my freedom. And without that piece right there, admitting or acknowledging my spiritual activities, then for Tituba, she would not have gotten her freedom. She'd have been stuck in the situation she was in. And in my case, I wouldn't have gotten my freedom if I didn't, come out and be public about how, much spirituality I'm involved in. I would have never gotten my freedom. And then when I get it, I'm not going to just poof disappear. But for a lot of people, I will just be gone, because they'll be looking for my energy signature in a certain way, and they won't be able to find it, because I've been through this purging now. I got this energy detached from me, and the Most High is going to restore me to my freedom. And that's what happened with Tituba. Her freedom was restored because she got on that stand and she told those people the truth about who they were dealing with. I absolutely believe those women were doing black magic. 100%. 100%. I 100% believe it. Now, at least for Salem, this might not be the case with all of the places, but for Salem, absolutely 100%. And those people were taken away. And in the process of revealing what she knew, She got her freedom. But what happened? Her master didn't even want her anymore. Wow, these entities that think they rule over us, they're not even going to want us anymore. Would you like that? Seriously, would you like to just these entities just don't even want to be bothered with you? That's the ultimate solution for me. Let me only be bothered with the entities that have my best interest at heart, not these ones who don't want to be bothered with me. And that's what I feel. That's how I feel this is playing out. So anyway, over the next few days, this is a good time to reflect. When things come up to reflect, it's good to do the reflection and just come to the conclusion that you did what was best for you with the information you had. You didn't have the information when you made the decision that you have now. So you reflect on it so you can say, oh, in the future, or if I see someone with this same situation, I know how to give them advice. I know how they feel. I can empathize with them, not sympathize. Sympathy is from the outside. You can empathize with them. I can empathize with people who've lost everything. I couldn't quite do that before, even though I've been in situations where I lost a lot. I never lost everything. Now I can empathize with a person who's lost everything. Although I have always had a heart for people who, experience these times where their houses and stuff are swept away and all this horrible stuff. I've always had a heart for those kind of people, but now I can empathize with them. Wow, you lost everything. That's awful. I know what that feels like because I also lost everything. I lost it all at once with my house, and then I also lost it bit by bit, when I moved and everything was slowly but surely was removed. I've done it both ways, and neither one is fun. We have to maintain our humanity. These situations give us an opportunity to maintain our humanity and prove to our spirit team, to the demons, whoever's assigned to us, no, we are a different person. We have been transformed by the renewing of our minds. And that is not something that they can take away from us. So, I hope that makes sense. I hope people are able to, because this is not exactly shadow work. This is more like, this is moving forward. This is beyond shadow work. Shadow work is like when you have to just acknowledge all the stuff that's been done. This is the step beyond shadow work. This is recovery. This is what recovery looks like. When you're able to look on your situations and say, yeah, that was a bad situation, but I could see why it happened like that, because I never would have learned the lesson if it hadn't. I would have. This was the fastest and easiest way for me to learn the lesson. Now we just, have to learn the lessons without having to have the experiences. That's where we ultimately want to move to. We have to be able to learn the lessons without having had the experiences. We've had a lifetime, many lifetimes worth of experiences. I don't need to have more experiences, bad experiences, to learn the negative side of these lessons. Now I need to have enough good experiences to cover or to remind me how valuable and how precious and how amazing life can be when you're moving in the opposite direction. That's what I am hoping for and looking for. And so I hope that makes sense. I know I kind of went all over the place, but I did want to get this information out there so that people take these next 3 days and they really use it to say, to themselves, but I made the best decision that I could. And I can see why. I can see why is a really good statement, and I made the best decision that I could. Both of those statements are really, really good statements that you can use to really advance your life. And so I hope this has been helpful. Got some videos forthcoming, including